Hello, everyone. I'm Andy.
And I'm Sean.
And this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, episode
100. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 100 of the Commander's Brew.
100. Three digits.
We did it. We
did 3 digits worth of episodes. You know what? Can't wait till we roll into the 4th digit.
Oh, man. Look at that odometer. See that coming in? Yeah, man. It's coming in a few years.
This is a momentous occasion. This is if you are just tuning in for the very first time, this one, we do an episode where we normally would brew a deck every episode, and it'll be under $50, and we'll keep it budget. That's our thing. But this is episode 100, so we're going to do things a little bit differently this week.
That is correct, Sean. We are going to do things a little bit differently this week because obviously 100 is a big milestone for this podcast. What's that?
I was just saying 100 is a big milestone because we have 10 fingers.
Oh, yeah. Because we have arbitrarily decided that our mathematical system works that way. Yeah. So it's a big milestone for us. We're happy to have hit it and have been around this long. Who knew that was going to happen?
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, so this one's going to be a bit different. Like we said, usually we brew a deck up. It's a budget deck, $50 or less. We'll find some neat cards in and around that budget, and we'll tell you all about them and stuff. But this one is going to be different because we got some different stuff to talk about. We want to look back. We want to talk about some of the things that have happened over the 100 episodes. But we do have some Commander relevant stuff to talk about as well. So it's not just purely a retrospective. We're going to be discussing some topics. So stick around for all that stuff. First, of course, we have to right off the top. We got a bunch of stuff that we normally do, right? And we got to do this episode as well in a special way.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's an ad from our sponsor, the Wizard's Tower. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. It's me, Sean Tabaris from the Commander's Brew. Just a regular old person on Earth plane, talking about my trials and tribulations. For our 100th episode, I thought I'd talk about my favorite card store, the Wizard's Tower, wizardtower.com. I get my singles for free shipped to Canada because I spend $15 or more, or $10 in the US if I was there, and I use coupon code Tower of Brews to get an extra 5% off. And get this, I get 3% kickback for my next order. That's a great deal. Anyway, I'm just enjoying my life here on regular old Earth plane, but excuse me while I tap a bunch of islands and I go flying over somewhere else to try to defeat a weird old wizard. Magic's strange when you imagine it happening on Earth plane.
So yes, there it is, Wizard's Tower.
What a great set of people.
Yeah, what a great set.
Store. Are people sets? Yeah,
I suppose you could be a set.
We saw them in Las Vegas this weekend. We don't get a lot of face-to-face time with them, but we saw them in Las Vegas because this was the GP Vegas weekend.
That's right. We got to see Dave and the whole crew from Wizard's Tower. We bought some sleeves off of them and some cards. And hopefully anyone else who was there also did that. That's the other thing. GP Vegas, we just got back from yesterday after a pretty harrowing day of flying.
Travel days are awful.
Yeah, they're rough. So we had a full day of getting back home because we had the connecting flights and all this kind of stuff. So it wasn't the greatest. We would have much rather been sitting in the GP playing Commander with everybody, which is what we basically did the whole weekend. It was really, really, really awesome. And a lot of the people, of course, that we met, I mean, we're going to get to this. We're going to do a little bit of a GP Vegas wrap up. But I want to say thanks to all the patrons that we met at GP Vegas, and we met quite a few of you. Of course, over at patreon.com, we have a Patreon going. You can donate to help support the show directly, which allows us to get to things like GP Vegas and allowed us to get there. That's the reason we were able to do it, and we recorded some fun stuff, as you'll see again in this episode. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just so great to like finally put faces to names and people, the patrons and just the regular listeners. Like, I know not everyone is able to like financially do that. I mean, that is obviously above and beyond, but just listening and, having fun with us is thanks enough. And like, great just to meet people who, we've tweeted with and, interacted with me like, oh, okay, that's what your real name is, this, not just a bunch of letters and things.
Yeah. And it really was so fun to start putting those faces to names and meeting all those people. And so thank you for anyone who came up to us at GP Vegas. And I mean, there were quite a few of you. So that's thank you to quite a few people, both like friends from Patreon or like Twitch or Twitter, and also new friends that we met just from like friends of friends, like we met our patron Austin, and then we met his two friends who we ended up playing a lot of EDH with, which was great. So that's just
expanding the play group.
Yes, exactly. So it was really, really, really great. So yeah. Anyways, patreon.com if you want to support. But really, the only support we ask is that you listen to the show, and if you like it, tell a friend. There you go. How about that? We met some people we sometimes only see on Twitch when we do streams. That's right.
That was cool to Twitch names I feel are even stranger than Twitter handles. Like, Twitter handles are sometimes names, but like Twitch handles are usually mostly just random stuff. So it's great to put like faces to that. Yeah, man. Like, so maybe let's just talk about some of the cool stuff that we saw and experienced in Las Vegas. I gotta say, it was a bit of an eye opener, like I think I mostly was playing Commander with our meta, and that's about it. But I played so many games with so many diverse decks with so many people. It was eye opening.
It truly was. And we're going to have a segment later in the show about level ups, but this was kind of one for me, and it happened right here at the GP, but which was playing outside of your meta, playing with so many different decks, and just really finally experiencing all the things so many Commander players have told us about. We go to our LGSs because we live in a big city, so we have quite a few of them around. But like when we go to them, we mostly play like limited and stuff, right? We don't really play a ton of Commander at the LGSs because we have a play group that we play Commander with. So getting out there and actually playing it with people who come from stores where it's a really cutthroat meta, or it's where it's Commander's all about foiling out your deck and tricking out your one or two decks that you have, right up to people who just brought who are all about building their decks from their limited draft stuff they get in limited, right? We played against our friend Dana's werewolf deck, and he was like, I got this all through draft, and it was really, really great because that's kind of how we started playing Commander. And then you get right up to, so there's two ends of the spectrum, and I thought it was just amazing to play with those decks in the same games and see and still seeing those decks be competitive with one another. That's what's so great about the format. It really is fantastic.
Yeah, and I'll extend that to remind myself of how great like the Commander as a format is and the community that supports it. Because we were sitting down at tables with like 5 or 6 players. Some people, like as you said, a very wide range of decks, but people played with the goal of having fun.
Yes.
And like a secondary goal of winning, but like a close second. It's not like people were just like throwing things away.
No.
But they were just like, okay, I'm not going to like dig for my combo win ASAP. I'm just gonna let this game play out. I'm gonna try to win, maybe with some like creature combat stuff like that.
Did experience that.
You did once.
I did once. I did one time. I experienced where I sat down to a game and one of the players. Well, it's very interesting. Again, like this is the first time I've ever experienced this, so I got to talk about it, right? So, and I'm sure so many of you have experienced this so many times before, but it was there was four of us. Four of us, and one of the players sat down and was like, "Hey, so like, what kind of decks are we playing with here?" And I was like, "Well, I'm running this new Brew Epic Experiment, which we're going to talk about that some more as well."
We're going to talk about that.
And I was like, it's very hit or miss, right? It's a little janky, but it can go big, whatever. It's a silly thing. The other two decks were basically the same type of thing. It's like, this is my soldiers deck, Shivam bought from Commander, and we're playing against Trick Jarrett from Wizards of the Coast. So we had some really cool decks, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, great, perfect." So then he brings out a Macias deck, and then proceeds to turn 4 Necrotic Ooze like combo out and kill us all.
Right.
This other dude. So I'm sorry to get his name. And like, hey, listen, again, no one was upset or anything. I was like, oh, okay, well, you just won. And that actually did give me the opportunity to then run over to the Command Zone live episode that they were taping, and then I could actually watch some of it.
Yeah.
But it also meant that we weren't playing because it ended so soon. But whatever. So it happened to me finally.
Yeah. Yeah, and so maybe that was a case of maybe not like testing the table. Maybe everyone wasn't like on the same level there. Everyone playing for the same goal.
You'd think that's why you asked that question to start. I don't know.
Yeah,
anyways.
You'd think. But I gotta say, like I was in a game with a guy. Was that Mark? I think that was Mark. Who had who was the commander even? Anyway,
the Lands deck. The Lands one with Tabernacle and all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that a Lands deck, or did it just have Tabernacle?
No, it was a Lands deck. It was
okay.
Lands into EDH basically.
It was the most the most tuned up deck I may have seen ever.
Yes.
But it played with everyone perfectly. He was just like, cool, I'll attack the other guy at the table who has a very tuned deck. Right? That was the mono black one, right?
Yeah. That was good. You're right. That was a very good game. That was the deck where Mark's whole thing was trying to get Merit Lage as many times as possible. So you can imagine that's an incredibly powerful thing to do, no matter what format of Magic you're playing in. But here was Sean and I with my Karlov. You had your were you playing Aloro at that point or Guafa Hazid? One of the two.
I was Aloro that time.
You were Aloro, and our decks are all right. We upgraded them from strictly budget versions, so they're fine. But we were able to hang with them pretty good, and it was great. He did end up winning, I think, right?
Yes. But yes,
but it was because you and I ended up kind of killing each other, wasn't it?
a little bit.
Yeah, it was good though. It was really great.
Yeah, right. Right. So I remember. Yeah. So it was Parker's mono black deck, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He asked me to shout out. He runs Great Escape Games in Sacramento.
Oh yeah, go there if you're from Sacramento. Check out Great Escape Games and our boy Parker and his wife Chelsea.
And if you're also there, maybe you can take a look at my water bottle that I left that
That's
Parker
right.
picked up.
Yes, that's right. You left it there.
I lost my water bottle. And you know where I lost it too? I lost it near the Lost and Found after commenting on all of the water bottles there.
It was already ironic that on our way out, we saw this row of water bottles and we were like, what's that? And they're like, oh, it's the Lost and Found. And we're like, oh, and then Sean left his water bottle behind. But it's extra that you left it at the Lost and Found. That's very funny.
I wanted to save them the trip. I want to save someone the trip of finding it and bringing it to Lost and Found.
Unreal. So speaking of our boy Parker, there, we played a couple games with him and Chelsea, his wife, and
Oh
that
yeah.
led to Chelsea's board led to
Okay,
the biggest
before
play
we
of all GP Vegas for me.
before we get into this, let's go to our like coolest moments in games at GP Las
Okay,
Vegas.
okay, great.
Before
This
we
is
do though,
perfect.
I think we need to just highlight what the journey of Epic Experiment has been to get us there. So
Yes. Okay.
you'll
Let's talk
recall
about this. Right.
so you'll recall listeners will recall that episode 99 we brewed an Epic Experiment deck, right? We started burning it with our Commander's Burn segment, but we decided, you know what? I think this deck's kind of fun. Uh, and so we did. So we brewed it. And Andy put it together in time for GP Las Vegas, which is the fastest turnaround ever. He was even going around to different booths there, just being like, "Oh, I need that one piece. Did you bring this common from M10 that I still need?" And of course, nobody did.
And of
Why
course,
would
no
you
one
bring...
brought no one brought those. Of course not.
Yeah, no, I don't have my entire store's inventory here.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly.
but like, and but not only that, we were like on the plane right over. We were like, "Oh, what about this card for Epic Experiment?" Yeah, okay. What would you cut? This one? Okay. Like, we must have talked about that deck constantly.
Oh yeah, we were
Like,
talking about it a lot.
a lot. We were talking about it on the way to and from the convention, on the plane. Something about that deck has found a space in our brains.
Yeah,
And it's just, and like, oh man.
yeah, it absolutely has. It's. I'm sorry, I'm just getting the image for it up here.
Oh, sure.
Of course, you guys. I mean, we're not. I'm not going to read it because everyone should know it by now. Epic Experiment, the big X spell that casts instants or sorceries. Yeah, it was a deck that just won't leave us alone because it was like, how do we make the Epic Experiment better? How do we make it like slimmer? So I'll be honest, right? So everyone's seen on Twitter, like I posted some pictures of what happened at GP Vegas, and people are like, oh, did you make a non-budget version? And I did, right? Because we're at the GP, this is we're there's usually good deals at GPs like this, especially big ones like Vegas. So I went and I grabbed a few extra turn spells, I went and grabbed a couple of things that were great. Also, I just had some things that I had drafted, and I had my binder like an expropriate. I had an expropriate already, so I threw that in there. So yeah, we got this version of Epic Experiment down, and I played it 4 times. It went 3-1 at GP Vegas, which I'm very proud of because this deck is first of all, you got to understand, playing this deck, you just start playing things. Like you start dropping basic lands because it's all basic lands.
Yeah.
Then you start playing things like Lay of the Land, which I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is like, I mean, I'm not gonna go over everything that we did last episode, but
Just dumb.
but
ramp
Lay of the
stuff.
Land just puts a basic land in your hand. It doesn't even ramp. It just puts it in your hand. So you start playing these spells, and people are like, "Well, those aren't very good cards. Like, I'm not afraid of that at all." Yeah. So that's how you start out your games, and then, at some point down the road, you storm them to death. You play Storm in EDH, and that's how you beat your your opponents. And it's just they just don't see it coming. And it's really fun. Oh, Riku also, we switched up. We made Riku the commander because it just makes so much more sense.
Yep.
And you guys know, it kind of come full circle in a way. In that episode 1 was a Riku deck, and episode 99 was an Epic Experiment, which wasn't technically Riku, but now here we are talking about the Riku version of it. So it kind of came around full circle.
Yes.
Yeah, this deck, it's so. I don't think I've had as much fun playing a deck before as I have with this one.
Okay, so that takes us to our like epic, one of your favorite moments of the weekend in games we've played. Let's set it up. So I remember I was in this game too. I was on your left. Who was I running? This was where I was trying to run Oloro. I say trying to because it wasn't going too well for me. But we had a lot going on. One player was playing like an elf deck, lots of elves coming out. One player was mono black, doing some pretty dirty things. One person was playing a pirate ship deck.
Right.
Oh yeah,
yes.
that was Mike. That was Mike doing his ghost. Was it ghost ship or pirate ship?
I can't
The
remember.
-1/-1 counter one.
Yeah, the very old legendary.
And I gotta say that was a cool deck too.
It
Like
was
that deck
cool.
that guy was doing some cool stuff under the radar there. So like kudos to you, Mike, for that deck. That was pretty great.
Definitely. I feel like we didn't get to see it totally go off, which is fine by me because that would have killed me. But
I had a peek
yeah.
at his deck when the game was over. It looked really good.
Yeah.
I kind of wish we saw more of it.
Yes, definitely. Oh man, and that's also like a theme. I wish we saw more of this, or I wish we got to play more. Blah blah blah. Of course, but so on this one, I was just doing okay. I was drawing like some okay spells. I wasn't looking too good, but I did get a very early Muddle the Mixture, so I was able to tutor for Epic Experiment like pretty early in the game, which is kind of a risk because if someone wheels, you're like, oh great, like I have to pitch my Epic Experiment, which I don't really want to do. So whatever, but I had nothing else to do, so I did it, and then it's getting into the game a bit. I've got some good amount of mana going, but like nothing crazy. And then I play Spelltwine, and I Spelltwine my own. Oh, okay. First of all, Sean drops that thing that like mills at the beginning of the turn for every card in your hand.
Dreamborn Muse.
Exactly, and I have a Spelltwine in my hand, so I'm like, oh, this is great. This is perfect. This is exactly what I want because I got really no gas happening right now. I'm not really doing much. So on my turn comes around, something gets milled into my library, and it's a Clone Legion. And this is while Chelsea has like the craziest elves board state you can have. She's got things tapping for like 20 mana and like they all getting +1/+1, blah blah blah. So sure enough, I Clone Legion her thing, and I can't remember what I did with the other thing. I think I just proliferated something and drew a card or something. In response, though, those things get killed, but not before I can put all the mana in, and that's when I was able to do the Epic Experiment. Now I didn't even realize all this stuff at first. I was like, okay, I'll clone all your stuff, and then we'll pass the turn, kind of, and I'll figure it out. And then she's like, well, wait a second, like you're not going to tap this for mana, you're not going to gain on this life, you're not going to do this. I was like, okay, let's hold up then, because it looks like I've got a lot of stuff to do this turn, because everything had haste, and like it was just a nutty board state. And I went off with Epic Experiment. Cast it for 20. Actually, cast it for 29. I misprinted that on Twitter. I cast it for 29, and then I purposefully kept 5 back because I also had the Storm spell that bounces permanents in my hand. So I Epic Experimented. I went like 10 or 12 spells, and then I bounced, and one of the players all their lands. And I did win. Like that's what you want to do, right? If you're gonna bounce all of someone's lands, you have to beat them then. So
wow,
that's exactly what happened. It was wicked. It was so good. It was so fun.
Nice.
What about you? Did you have a specific game or a favorite game moment?
Yeah, there's a cool game moment here. It was I wonder if I'm crossing games or not, because in my mind I was sitting in the same chair, so like my brain might be crossing. Let me tell you, I'm gonna do a little sidebar here.
Okay.
GPs are draining. Like you got to remember to drink water and like eat food and go to the bathroom and stuff like that. And maybe that's something I'm already bad at in general. But I think I was thinking about this later on. I was playing someone and I forgot how Terramorphic Expanse worked.
Yeah, I was in that game that happened. That was the same game.
It was the same game. I forgot how Terramorphic Expanse worked because I was like, "Oh, I don't want to crack it because then I won't have a land to put back into my hand when I play Boros Garrison." But I'm like, no, Evolving Wilds would put a new land in there. It doesn't disappear and turn it into 0 lands.
Right.
But I think it's a function of like Commander has a very intense board. Like there's a lot of stuff to remember. So your brain is kind of operating at this high level of just remembering 6 or 7 pieces and segments, and like I need to memorize all of what's going on. Here's all the things that could happen, and that's a tiring thing to do, to maintain for a very long time, especially if you're just jamming games all day. I played more Commander than I ever have in one shot. So Granted, I might be crossing these two games or not because of memory issues, but I remember we were playing a game and it came down to like there was a Nekusar player at the table. This was Jack, and it was like
Yeah,
who's
Jack
gonna
the
be
Phenom.
right? Who's gonna be under the black vice? And I was like, well, okay, it's me. Did not like that. Oh, you know what? I am crossing two games. I
I
know
was
now
gonna say I was
because
also at that game.
right. Anyway, so that was fun too when Jack put me under the black vice, and then I just like lost way too much life that way. That was cool. But right, this is the one I want to talk about. Right. One of so we met someone called Dan, and Dan brewed a deck based on a comment we made in our set review that we never even followed through on.
That's
And
right.
right? And that's like, oh, Salvallo's probably really good with Hydras. And then we did the rest of our set review episode, but he actually brewed that deck together, and I might add, just destroyed me with it in a fantastic way. He ended up getting a walking ballista with enough counters on it to just be like, it's always a bad question when someone's like, how much life are you at?
Yes.
And I'm
yeah.
like, wait, why? So he's like, okay, walking ballista for a huge amount, and I can fire all the little bullets, I guess, at you, and you're dead. And I was like, wow, applause,
yeah,
that's great.
That was a secret partners game, and I remember
Oh,
you and I were the revealed partners. And Dan killing you was his way of being like telling me that he was my partner, which he did end up being. But he also could have been the lone wolf, so it was tough to figure out at the time. But then right after that, I figured out who the lone wolf was, and then our team ended up winning that game.
yeah,
That was a good one.
yeah, that was great.
That was very good. I also did manage to, with my Niv Mizzet deck. So it's same guy, Dan, playing green white tokens deck this time, so he gained a ton of life. So he had a ton of creatures on the board. He was very much the target, and basically convinced with Rhystic Study and the one that lets you draw 2 cards instead of 1 whenever you would draw a card.
Yes.
The whole table went around and was like, okay, well, let's give the Niv Mizzet player enough to kill this guy. And then, of course, they let me draw so many cards that I just won the game when it came to be my turn. I did Lab Maniac and Enter the Infinite.
Amazing.
Where I was supposed to draw 2 cards per draw instead of 1. So I just, like, no one could stop it. So I just won. Enter the Infinite, a card I drafted from Gatecrash, was like, Mythic, huh? Yeah, this doesn't look like it does anything, but I bet you, I was like, maybe it'll be worth money someday, or maybe I'll want to use it. And guess what? Both are true.
Well, they're true. Is it worth money?
I think a couple bucks. Nothing crazy.
Within our budget range.
Probably, yes. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that's a couple of game wrap-ups. We played a ton of games. I played a game against Pro Tour Hall of Famer and coverage guru Randy Bueller, who is not a Commander player at all, but he brought a Norn the Wary deck, and we played against him. He ran over our 4-player thing with me, Shivam, and Vinny from, you probably recognize Vinny from Game Nights. He's Josh and Jimmy's friend. Randy Bueller totally ran over us, and then. We were like, wow, Randy, great first Commander game. Now let's play again. We did. And then the 3 of us just murdered Randy Bueller's Norn deck so hard. It's like, hey, man, welcome to Commander. That's what happens, So that was fun. The Josh and Jimmy's gathering that they did was so much fun. They gave away a lot of great prizes.
I got cool metal dice.
Yes, we everyone got cool metal dice if you were there early enough. That was great. Yeah, just a lot of ton of good games. It was very, very fun.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just going to mention this because it just popped in my head. I don't want to forget it. Phil, at that there was like raffles and stuff, and then one of the raffles was to benefit a friend of our friend of the show, Phil DeLuca, their family, and this is a weird place to put it right in the middle of the podcast like this, but I can't. I don't want to forget about it. So they have a charity thing set up because they had a baby, and the baby's going through some serious medical stuff right now. So if you want to help out with that, go check out. Basically, contact Phil on Twitter. He's at CatJack.
Yeah.
Reach out there. There you go.
Well, that ties into what I was thinking about too, and that is the like, yeah, because Jimmy and Josh put up that Commander meetup, and all the Commander in gang was there, and we were there, and who knows who else was there? So many people showed up. The Loading Ready Run guys showed up. It was
That's
just,
right. Yeah.
and I think this is like, I don't know. To me, it's just like, yeah, man, this is Commander, right? This is what we do. Just a bunch of people hanging out, and we're all here for fun
Yeah.
and like, yeah, I know sometimes we kind of rip on like not playing at your store and being like, oh, I expect if I go to the store I'm just going to play against people who don't want to have a good time and just want to like stacks everybody out. And I'm like, but I don't think that's a fair assumption on me. I'm going to try to like check those assumptions going forward and be like, yeah, man, like Commander players at heart, like that's a format about fun and doing silly things. You can get competitive with it, but I think it doesn't have to be. And I think to assume that is probably negative. I think, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna try to swing more optimistic that way.
Yeah, we did, of course, meet players who would tell us that their meta back home at their store is just super cutthroat, and that's where we've faced Mark's Land's Merit Lage deck and Parker's mono black Micaeus, just that could have comboed off if he had truly wanted to. There are those. That does exist, but yeah, I think overwhelmingly we met people and played with people who just wanted to have a blast and see some crazy things, see some decks do some crazy things, and do some crazy things themselves. And I think for the most part, we all managed to do that.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was great. Anything else about GP Vegas you want to throw in there?
We tuned up our decks for GP Vegas because we expected people to come and bring the best stuff. Which was good thing we did that because we did face some very good decks. Now we didn't tune up as turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5 wins or anything like that. We tuned up, just some more efficient versions of stuff that we use, better land bases, things like that. But a lot of people told us how they had to tune down their decks when they brought it to GP Vegas, which I thought was very funny.
My tuning up a lot of my decks involved making sure I had removal.
Yeah, that's important. That's important stuff, right?
Sometimes I get so in love with the synergies going on, I forget about I'm like, oh yeah, I can't deal with enchantments yet.
Yeah, synergy and staples. That's an important thing to think about. But yeah, you know what? That actually brings us to a very good next segment. This is our next segment, right? This is
sure.
Level ups, right?
This is 100 episodes in. That's and we do a weekly show, so that's almost 2 years worth of Brew and Commander decks. And we don't think about it on a week-to-week basis, but we're gonna look back at some overall level ups we've experienced in our time brewing decks, presenting them to you guys. Producing a podcast, stuff like that too. And just maybe if you're interested in that sort of thing, maybe you can pick up a couple of tips here or compare it to your own journey. So what are some of the level ups we've had brewing decks this far forward? I'll say for myself, one of the things that I think a big level up for me has been, in general, just don't worry about your mana base as much as you think. Right? You don't need to pour over every piece of land and every mana rock in there. I think if you have a nice, simple system with some budget stuff in there, I think that will do you just fine if you want.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems pretty contrary to everything you hear about Magic the Gathering in general. Right? Lands are super important. They're obviously without them you don't get to play, so they are the most important thing, you could say, right? But like I was saying, with the Epic Experiment deck, it's I was running all basics, basically. And not to say that that necessarily means you're going to have the best, but that's a 2-color deck, right? I think this there's a scale of this, right? There's a scale of what you want and when you're kind of going overboard. 2-color decks can be a little looser, I think, than most people give them credit for. And then if you're getting up to 4 and 5 colors, obviously you're looking at some a lot of possibilities there, but like, can you expand a little bit on what you mean by like
Sure.
don't worry about it so much?
Here's what, of course, of course. This is so I've basically, for time purposes, I've come down with a formula that I use to put lands into a deck. And it's and sometimes I want to play a deck in real life, and I'll put all the pieces together, and I'll be like, well, I have all these cheap budget common land pieces, tons of basics, so I'll just put that together as a test. But more often than not, I don't bother updating it because it's fine. It's like I could spend the money and like trade up and add fetches and shocks, and if I already had them, I'd consider adding them. But I honestly think like your land base, it's not as difficult or precious as I thought it was. Right? I used to think of like, how many forests do I want? How many islands? Maybe I'll count all the pips in all the spells, and I'll like look at all these things. I honestly, because it's a 100 card format, and you only will see, I don't know, maybe like 30, 40 of them in a game on average. So I think going for the statistical numbers, like I said, we were at this GP and we probably played, oh man, I don't know. I don't know how many games I played, but I didn't play 100 games because they take a long time. And I didn't play more than 5 games with any one deck. I probably played 2 or 3 games because I brought a lot of decks. So if that's like statistically, yes, if you have like a super tuned mana base, you're going to have more consistency in the long run. But realistically, how many times am I going to play with one of my 6 budget decks that I brought here? Not that many. So statistically, I think it's fine to just be like, yep, this will work. This is good enough.
Yeah, I think what you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you're basically saying is like the percentage points you gain by really pouring over the mana base and making sure, the percentages are right and all that, and the time you're spending on that, it's Commander. It's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't pay you back.
Yeah, it's not going to pay you back. I guess it may in the 1 or to 5 out of 100 games where you may have not got this color as early as you would have liked, whereas in this game now, if you had this different mana base slightly, you would. It is very contrary to what you would normally say. And if you want to, if you're all about those percentages, then yes, it is going to be worth it for you. But if you're more about, I guess, like kind of we are about like, I brought like 15 decks to Vegas. Some people brought 2,
Yeah.
like I wanted to play all of them. So it was more, you're not winning anything off of it except for the time to have fun. I don't know.
Right.
I'm with you. I don't pour over mana bases like I used to, agonizing over that final cut type thing. I'll just be like, oh, you know what? We'll try it with one less, mountain and see if it's okay. And it usually is okay. Mind you, I also have gone back and switched a lot of mana bases after that sort of stuff, because you can notice trends, right? If you did make a mistake, that also happens. But anyways.
Yeah, but that comes with like, and I guess that's kind of the follow up to this is like, so just throw it in simple, get playing, right? I guess the bottom line is I want to be playing Magic faster. Right? And if it takes me too long to put the deck together, I won't have it ready for Commander Night, so I won't get to play Magic with it. So I'm just gonna get it ready, get like a running version of it going, and I swear most of the changes I make from that point on are all like, oh, this spell doesn't do it as much as I was hoping it would, so I'll swap out this spell, or I need more enchantment removal if it's one of my decks. But the lands are never a thing that I'm like, I feel I need to change. It always ends up being fine.
It's funny, I did mention earlier that Epic Experiment is a 2-color deck, and it essentially is because it's basically a green and blue deck. There's very little red involved,
right.
But actually it is a 3-color deck. It's a 3-color deck where we run almost all basics and make up for it with other things. But anyways, enough about Epic Experiment. Speaking of mana bases, though, there was something where I realized this, I think, sooner than Sean, but it looks like Sean's come around on it, considering
I
it's in
have
here in our notes. Get rid of Rupture Spire
and Transguild
and
Promenade.
Transguild Promenade. You don't want those. I think they're just bad almost all the time now. I found one in a deck I had and was like, why is this still in here? I'll quickly read Rupture Spire in case
Sure.
any players have already kicked this to the curb and never want to look at it again. Rupture Spire is a land, of course. Let me just bring it up for the list for the viewers on YouTube as well. There it is. It's a land. It's a gold land, and it says Rupture Spire enters the battlefield tapped. When Rupture Spire enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you pay 1 generic, and you tap it and to add 1 mana of any color. But the problem with this, so it's a 5-color land. The problem, of course, is that when you play it, not only does it come in tapped, it forces another land to tap, which is bad, which is very bad.
Right.
Because essentially, if you've been waiting, you're like, okay, on turn 8, I'm going to play this big 8-drop spell, or I'm going to play these 2 4-drop spells, whatever. Like, you got your turn planned out. I just need to hit that next land, and then I'm in, right? And this is not only just not hitting that land, this is putting you, like, a full turn back. So if you had it next turn, maybe you played an Evolving Wilds and that's your 8th land. Guess what? Now you don't get to do it again. It's Rupture Spire is just going to take that away from you, or you just don't play it. So you end up not playing it when you should or when you want to, and it's just terrible.
Yeah.
You just almost every time want a basic land, or just at the very least something that just taps itself. So. And even in 5-color decks, man, it does the same thing. Because it's like, oh, I just need red. You draw this. Oh, but this will put me back, so I can't even play this other spell, even though this will give me red. It's like you end up setting yourself back an extra turn. It's very bad.
Is bad. Do I still run one in a deck? Yes, I do. I run one in a 4-color deck because I think I'm still getting there.
It's a tough breakup for you.
It's a tough breakup. Yeah, I don't want to say goodbye really quick.
You're still hanging on.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think yeah, exactly. Anyways, whatever. It's bad. That's a bit of a level up. What else? What did you get? What's this one here?
Just like more removal, and then like another way to say that is more interaction, right? It's very fun. So brewing 100 decks plus my own decks that I'm just working on the side. That's a lot of decks in my brain. It's a lot of ideas. It's a lot of putting things together. And usually the first thought is like some sort of synergy or some sort of goal. So I jam the deck full of those things. But let's not forget, and which this is a level up for me, is like sometimes I would forget to be like, yeah, you just need basic land and artifact, or not land, enchantment and artifact destruction. You need creature destruction. You need some draw spells. You need some ramp spells. These are rarely very exciting cards. My synergy, my fun synergy, where this happens and this happens, that's the exciting part. But I guess you don't get to do your exciting part if you're being trapped under some brutal enchantment someone's running. So you got to have it all.
You got to have it all. This is also related to that, but maybe perhaps in an opposite way. But synergy over staples. And this is something that, again, is pretty contrary to, I think, what most people would think about Magic and even Commander in general. I think if you asked the Command Zone this, they would disagree with this, I think, very much so. Their meta is a lot different than ours, of course, and it may well be meta-dependent, but we've always been synergy over staples here, I think, for the most part, because synergy is just going to be more fun. And I think if a lot of people came and watched our playgroup play, they'd be like, where are all the board wipes? Why is anyone allowed to do the stuff they're doing? And it's like, well, guess what? That stuff's fun. And it's fun dealing with someone when they're doing their stuff. Like, that's fun. And obviously we do run board wipes. And actually, I would say a level up is that I do include more board wipes, as I think we should. But also, games last longer when there's a lot more board wipes. So if you want to get more games in, like we tend to do, like a little less is fine. But anyways, synergy over staples. And specifically in this case, I want to talk about the staple binder system. We talked about this a lot early on. We're big proponents of it. We've seen different iterations of it come around from friends and from listeners. And I I think, first of all, we were doing it a bit wrong. I think people have taken the idea and made it better. They've definitely improved on it. Our boy Vinny, he over at like the Josh and Jimmy's buddy who was on game nights. He has a great version where he swaps out, he had like cards in, and he would just pull it out individually when he drew it, as opposed to what we were doing, which we were shuffling stuff in and out, which was a much more time consuming thing. So there's definitely better ways to do it. But as a guy who recently got out of the staple binder system, and I did fully get out, even including lands, because I wanted to be able to grab and go with in Vegas, right? I didn't want to have to be messing around with staples and so on. I did find myself having more fun finding like things to slot in, instead of the staples that I had. So, for example, I've got one legit copy of Doubling Season. It's currently in my Marith like Planeswalkers and Tokens deck, where it belongs. It's at home there. But now my Tristani deck doesn't have a Doubling Season. Well, I had to find something else to put in there, and guess what? I found some card that I don't remember exactly what card I put in, but it was definitely something from a commander set that looked like it was good in a Tokens deck, but like, well, I've got no room in Tristani. I'm not going to cut anything for this. So now I've played it in that now. I've played it in that deck, and there's a lot more variety in those cards now, and there's a lot more fun. Also, it does make room for like other staples in a way in stuff like Sean was saying, where it's like more removal now. Now I can fit in another board wipe if I don't have that in there. So there is a definite there's a definite benefit to doing that. And I'm not talking about all staples either. Like, you run your Lightning Greaves, run your Swiftfoot Boots, run your Soul Rings. Those things, same effect if you do end up pulling them out, but like, some things you still want no matter what, right? So, there's exceptions to this, but it was a lot more fun pulling cards out that I had in 5 decks and then finding those 4 or 5 replacement cards for them.
Yeah, that's super fun.
And we should say, I think the reason we got out, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show before, but the only real reason I got out of the staple binder is that we've been writing for MTG Canada, and we get paid in store credit for that. So we're able to, I'm able to like make an order of something if I need it. I still am not like buying up the Doubling Seasons. I'm still not buying $30, $50 cards or anything. But like if I need another, Soul Ring, I'll buy it. It's $3 or whatever, right? So that's a nice situation to be in. But not everybody's in that situation, and in that case, I still think the staple binder has a lot of good merit to it. So I haven't abandoned it in theory, just in practice.
Yeah. Great. So now those are some level ups we've done, like deck building, like our brewing level ups and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Let's spend a couple of seconds on like some like technical stuff, like some podcast level ups. Like we've been through some evolutions, some very positive ones as we've gone. One of the hugest ones is we started doing YouTube as well, right? Yes. We're not just audio, we also do YouTube.
That's right. And I just, while we were planning for this one, I just quickly went back and watched our very first YouTube video. Not our very first one, but the first one where it was where we were broadcasting video. Because I think we had 2 before where it was just audio. And the difference is crazy. It's just so different.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we've gone up as far as quality goes of lighting and things like that.
Oh yeah, can we do some lights? I'll show you. Yeah. So I got my lights set up. So here's lights on. Okay, ready? Lights off.
Actually, yours doesn't look that bad. Mine looks terrible. You can barely see
lights
me.
Back on. Yay!
See, I've got a weird thing where I've got a window in my room, and it always makes this crazy, like weird exposure thing in the back there. So my lighting is a bit different. I did buy blinds for that. I just haven't put them up yet.
One level up I had in personal is I shaved my beard.
Oh, and one level up I have is I was finally able to grow one.
Yeah. And then let's talk about another very big level up we had is we got a new logo thanks to Matt Straught at Messy Comics. It was a wonderful thing. We had our logo, which we don't know much design stuff. We just kind of put a thing.
Yeah.
But Matt is a designer and illustrator, so he's just like, I like your guys' podcast. I like the logo idea, but it looks bad enough that it needs an upgrade. And he just designed our new logo for us, which is great. And I'm not going to spoil this. One future level up you can look forward to is we're starting a dialogue with him. Is that what you say in the biz world? We're starting a dialogue about getting him to do a playmat design for us.
That's right. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. That's future stuff. That's future Commanders Brew. There's also been a couple things as far as how we how we get the episodes to you, how we treat them editing wise, and I think people have seen some improvements over the years. We had some big sound level ups pretty early on, and that was due to some listener help as well. I think it's been so long ago now, I can't remember, but was it Casual Cleric, I think?
Yeah.
Offered some big help, and Phil DeLuca also from Commanderin offered some big help. He's given us some big level ups. So yeah, the definite, like, those people have helped made this podcast a lot better. So we'd be remiss.
Well, you named Phil. Them. Yeah, you named Phil just now. So can we take a moment then to just kind of call out some pals who have guested on our show before?
Yeah, we should. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So I know like some of our first guests were some pals from our play group. Shout out to Alistair Forbes. Shout out to Scott Butler. Local boys helping the Commanders Brew out.
Yes, and they if we ever become trivia worthy, if there's ever going to be a Commanders Brew trivia, those are two answers to the biggest trivia, which is like, who are the only other people to have hosted besides Sean and Andy? And it's Alistair, who filled in for me, and Butler, who also filled in for me when I was away. So cool. Of course, we also must thank, I think, the two guys who we just wouldn't really be at the place where we are without them, and that's Josh Lee Kwai and Jimmy Wong, who, of course, are the hosts of the Command Zone podcast, who I met before doing this show, and they were so great, and they had my friend Brendan and I on their show after we'd done our web series Space Janitors, and got me in, and I'd been listening to their podcast, and I've been enjoying it, and then it just sparked me to want to do it, and then they were just so supportive after that happened, once we launched the show. Jimmy and Josh, and every time I go to LA, I hang out with them, get on their show. We get the Command Summit where, we're talking about even doing bigger things involving us and the Commander guys. So Jimmy and Josh are really essential parts of the community, and as you guys all know, are just run a fantastic podcast and are just pillars of the community, as they say. Great bunch of guys, and just super cool dudes as well.
For sure. And then, speaking of community podcast Commander members, we've had Phil DeLuca guest on the show. We've had Sean Watson guest on the show. We've had Nate Burgess guest on the show. At the time, these three were the hosts of the Commanderin podcast, and mostly still are. Nate's moving on to his own podcast, Commander Time. I've yet to give that a listen to because we've been traveling and stuff, but I cannot wait to download a few episodes and give that a binge. But the Commanderin podcast has updated it. They've got a new host, Shivam Bhatt, and hopefully we'll get him to guest on our show as well sometime.
Well, we had a great time with Shivam, of course, in Vegas, meeting him for the first time, but it truly did feel like we'd known him for years. He really just fit right in, peas and carrots, as they say. So that was a pleasure. And of course, we met Sean Watson for the first time in person.
Yeah, in person.
And I mean, you were meeting a lot of people for the first time in person. You met Phil and Josh and Jimmy for the first time in person, right?
Yep.
Jimmy. You met Jimmy before. Jimmy came
when
here.
He came up to Toronto. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a real blast. Getting to hang out with everybody, and also we met a person who's been on our show before, who I think it's safe to say is basically a Magic celebrity at this point. The professor was there at Tulare Community College. We'd see him wandering around, people talking to him all the time. He was he had so much stuff going on, but it was super nice to be able to chat with him again in person at GP Vegas a couple of times. So yeah, always a pleasure. And Prof is on what episode did he do for us? I can't remember.
I don't remember the numerical episode. I didn't write it down.
Okay, I'll get it while you go on here.
Yeah, I'll just say and we met a lot of people who we've not had on the show as guests but that I am fans of, that I listen to. We had a chance to meet Megan and Maria from Magic the Amateuring. We met Wedge from the Mana Source. We met Alex and Ben from the Masters of Modern.
That's right. I just want to quickly just jump in and say, Wedge, we've been back and forth with Wedge on Twitter quite a bit, and he did say he'd come on our show, so we just got to work that out. So for all you Wedge heads out there, all you TMS fans, yeah, keep an eye out for that. So that should be coming up in a bit.
Yeah, wasn't Wedgehead one of the villains from Silent Hill?
Was he?
Was it that creepy dude with that like wedge on his head?
Oh, maybe. Yes, probably. Also, is that not what they should call Green Bay Packers fans who wear the cheese wedge?
Yeah, right.
Professor's on episode 78, by the way. If you haven't checked that one out,
78.
go back and listen to that one.
And the professor is always very sharply dressed.
Oh, always sharply dressed, and always with a ton of awesome opinions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, we also met Jeremy Knoll from the Commander Versus series.
Yeah, right.
Awesome. Great guy to hang out with.
We're gonna forget a couple people that we met. That
Jason
really
Alt in real life for the first time as well. We played some craps with Jason and Nubat Danami, Kenji Yashira. We had a good time with those guys. Anyways, it was just wanted to say thanks for the for the support from those guys who've done our show or listened or whatever, right?
I walked past LSV and Gabby Sparks eating lunch and just waved and said, "You guys are great."
I sat in Marshall Sutcliffe's chair once, and he did not come back to sit in it again. So that
yeah.
He came back to get his phone, which was right in front of me, but then that was it.
Great.
Oh, we met some of the LRR guys as well. I met and talked to Adam from LRR as well as Graham a little bit, so that was great.
Jason, yeah.
So we're not just name dropping here. It was just really fun to actually meet other members of the community who we may have interacted with before, and just finally, much like it was with fans and listeners and patrons and stuff, it was also cool to meet other members of the community.
And maybe that's it reminds me, it feels like another level up, like it feels like this has been the first big GP we've ever been to. We went to GP Toronto, but the podcast was so new then. We weren't really we were just there as mostly spectators as opposed to participants.
Right. Yeah.
But we were participants this time, and I gotta say how amazing it's been. Like this community, like I've said it a few times already, but I'm gonna hammer it home right now. Like, the Commander community is so awesome. The people are so excited to just meet other people, and just it was so friendly, and everyone was like, yeah, man, we're all equals here. We all just love this game. We want to play this game. I don't care if your deck is $3,000 and your deck is $50. We're going to sit down. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a lot of laughs while we play. Like, half the time playing is spent chatting about stuff you've done at the GP and cool places to eat dinner. And to see all that and to really kind of connect, that's the first time we really connected to the community in that way, in person. And it has been, it's like electrifying, right? I feel renewed and refreshed and leveled up. Like, I am more excited than I've ever been to just keep doing this podcast and expanding the podcast and doing more things with this awesome community as much as possible. So thank you in any way for that level up, everybody.
It's pretty fortuitous and like just like what a coincidence that we did end up having our episode 100 right after GP Vegas because of all this stuff. It reminds you where you started, which was 100 episodes ago and a handful of listeners, to now where we got enough listeners that we were constantly playing games, and people were always coming up to us, telling us how they like the show, and we saw so many people with decks that we featured on our show, and they're like, hey, this is your version of this, or this is, we saw like, oh man, I can't even name them all. There's so many. We saw so many of our, quote, our decks being played by other people. That was amazing. That was
what
incredible.
An honor.
Yeah.
What an honor. Like, yeah, it's great. It's great. So heck yeah, we're going to do another 100 and maybe more. So
does going down to one deck count as a level up?
Yeah, I think so.
We should mention it.
It's certainly something that the podcast did. So we used to do 2 decks every episode, but we streamlined that down to 1 so that we can put more attention to the 1, and so that we can kind of make that 1 a little bit better. Also, I'm going to be fully honest. As the podcast grows, it demands more and more time, and brewing 2 decks takes a lot of time. And that's been it's allowed us to like get better in other places.
Yeah, it's allowed us a little more time within the episode as well to have fun segments and things like that we didn't always have before. So, anyways.
Well, and since I'm fully jazzed to do another 100 episodes, no problem. Since it's our 100th episode, we worked some real magic here, and we're gonna show you a clip.
Yeah.
A quick clip from a future episode of Commander's Brew. We're not allowed to tell you what set we're doing the set review from, but we're going to give you one spoiler from a future of a set.
Yes, it's pretty far in the future, but it's coming.
Can't give you any details about the set itself the themes and the world, but we got one card here coming up.
We got one card here, and we have ourselves broadcasting from the future about it.
Yeah.
So
we got a clip from the future.
Exactly. Here. So we're going to show you that clip right now. Let's check it out. Okay, so let's get to this next card in the set. Of course, this one has been a long time coming.
Yeah, I want to thank Wizards. I've been waiting a really long time with this one, and we finally got it. Okay, this is my Scry X spell. This is called Puzzle the Future. X and a blue for an instant Scry X. That's it. That's all it do. It scries X at instant speed, which is all I've been wanting. So thank you, Wizards, for finally printing this card.
Yeah.
You came around on it.
And, of course, praise be to Lord Grosdor for this one. Sean's been waiting for it for quite a while.
Yeah, praise be. Oh, a neat clip.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. I don't know how it got sent in a time capsule back in time to us. It was great. I'm happy to give that to you, though.
I guess I eventually grow a beard back.
Yes, you do. A big one. It looks like you fell asleep for a few years there.
Maybe.
Pure Rip Van Winkle style. Anyways. Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, is there anything else that you can think of that you want to mention here on the 100th episode that got us here, that helped us get here? I don't know. Is there anything else? I want to say thanks to Sean for doing this podcast with me. Before we started, obviously, I got a bunch of this like cool equipment. I got it for. I know I wanted to start producing audio shows and stuff like that. I had no idea what I wanted. All I know is I was listening to 2 podcasts at the time, Limited Resources and the Bill Simmons podcast. Those were the 2 shows I was listening to.
Okay.
Those are the 2 shows I was into. Of course, Bill Simmons is a writer for ESPN, and he, known as the sports guy. He would have a podcast where he talked about sports, but also like pop culture and everything. It was a really, really great show. He still does it. It's on the Ringer podcast network now. And of course, we all know about Limited Resources, talking about Magic. Those are the 2 biggest ones I was into. I was also listening a bit of the Command Zone, of course, because that had just started up in the last little bit. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I remember, Sean, you came over. We did like a test episode of a podcast.
I remember that.
Where we just there was no plan, and the idea was to have no plan for me, because I just wanted to like sit down, see how the flow went. We talked about Magic. We talked about board games. I remember that's a lost episode. That's just gone. That's never ever. Yeah. There's no way that will ever see the light of day. It is for sure gone. But we did that. Then right after that, our friend Chris, he came up to me and said he wanted to do a show about video games. So I started that podcast. We did that for a little bit. That podcast became impossible to do because you think Magic is a lot of money. Well, like you have to buy a new video game every week if you're doing like a news and up to date like video game podcast. So that was tough. We had a blast doing it and we had a great time, but also we were a little unclear with the goals. Anyways, from that, moved on to another podcast. My friend Norm Souza, he had an existing show that I was like, hey, I'll start that up for you again if you want. I think it's a great podcast. It's called The First Time Ever. I think you can still find that one on iTunes. First Time Ever podcast. We just do something for the first time with people and then podcast about it. Really good show. It ended up being a lot of movies, but there was some other stuff in there as well. But then after that, I knew I wanted to do a show about Magic. I knew I wanted to do something about Commander. It was a big passion of mine, and we have a great group, but there was no one I could have chosen to do the show with other than Sean, because not only is he the guy who taught me how to play Magic, but it seemed like he was the person who had the passion to, like, I think, do this and yeah. Anyway, so thank you, Sean, for becoming my co-host all those episodes ago, and for being as enthusiastic as I was about it, and never making it seem like this was a stupid idea that would never get off the ground.
Oh, Andy. Well, and of course, right? I have to extend a thanks to Andy, because it is impossible to do this kind of thing alone, right? I would go crazy. Like, it would be impossible. Like I said, like Andy's like you're like the visionary of it, right? Like to start a podcast and to know the equipment to just do it, right? The guy who's you're like, hey, let's do this. I'm like, okay, I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we'll do it. But Andy's just like, sure, we're gonna make it happen, which is a fantastic thing. Yeah, I think we make a really good team.
Yes,
And
I was gonna say, I think it's pretty obvious from especially those listeners who've been with us since very early that, like, we figured this out as we've gone along.
Yeah.
We did not start out 10 out of 10 knowing how to do everything. We've come a long way, and it's been very much figured out up until the point where, like, last episode we were having some big time camera troubles. So, like, it never ends really, but yes, of course, never be able to do this alone. Sean is responsible for some of the best parts of the show. I might be responsible for, like, the spark of starting it and getting us going. But yeah, Sean's, together we are, of course, the whole thing. But Sean's a big reason why the show is the way it is right now. And a lot of the fun episodes came straight out of your brain.
Well, you make them fun, right? We're one of the funniest guys I know.
Well, of course, same here. Same goes here.
Okay.
Right. Okay. That's enough of that. That's enough of that. So in the future, though, before we quit, like, in the future, we talked about seeing crazy cards, but what we really do have plans for the future. We want to expand. We want to make the show. We want to reach even more Commander players with this show. We want to reach Magic players, period, too. So we're looking for lots of ways to do that. I'm always looking to get other people from the community involved and on the show and talking and getting those people's thoughts about our format and about our game out to you guys, the listeners. I think it's great whenever you can find someone who, like, it was a really weird and cool moment for me to like play Commander with a guy like Randy Bueller, who you would never think is a Commander player. Like, what are his thoughts on Commander? I just don't know. So that's something I'd like to somehow incorporate moving forward, going forward in the show. We'll see. I don't know how we do it, but also I think a goal of ours is to perhaps, if we're lucky enough, get a preview card.
Ooh, yeah, we didn't write that in those,
great?
But that would be amazing.
That'd be great. And
yeah,
we've talked to some people about it, and they've always been like, of course, like, anything could happen. They're always very diplomatic and very nice about it. But we gotta, we have it as a goal. We have to get there. I think that'd be a fun thing to do. And I mean, you guys can help us out with any of that stuff by tweeting and stuff, which you do a lot of. And so we have to finally thank the listeners and the viewers, because this is not a show without them. Whether or not, forget about patrons, of course, but also just everyone who helped make the show what it is by listening and contributing and being a part of of it, because you truly are, like, your feedback on decks, whether it's on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch, whatever it is super important and makes the show great, really.
And all the comments and the jokes, right, participating along and just, like, helping us out when we horribly mess up the Vorthos of something. It's just great. It's just great. That's a big part of what keeps us going, for sure.
Yep. And I mean, I guess with that, I think that's it.
Yeah.
100 episodes.
100. I'm a little bit sad this episode's over.
Yeah.
But it's not entirely over. We're not gonna do a commander interview. We've got something special planned. While we were at GP Las Vegas, we recorded a whole bunch of people we could find from the commander kind of play area, and we had them, if they could ask any commander they wanted any question, what would that question be? And we've compiled some of the answers from the different commanders.
That's right. So I guess without further ado, here that is. But otherwise, we will see everybody next week for episode 101. Starting over.
Trip Didge.
Yeah, Trip Didge. We'll see you guys then. And otherwise, here comes some really great questions from some really great people.
Bye.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Hi, my name is Vincent. Or Vinny. I mean, some people call me Vinny. My favorite commander is Animar. And if I had to ask Animar a question, I'd ask him, what are morphs made of?
Good question. As you know, I'm the soul of elements. So, do morphs have a soul? Yes, they're the soul of the person under it. If you'll look at the art, you'll see that it's sort of a lightning shell, and it cracks open in the creatures underneath. So, lightning is my answer. It's made of lightning.
My name is Philip DeLuca. My favorite commander is Mareth. And my question is, why is there fire coming out of your butt? Is that where the elementals come from?
Well, I'm glad you pointed out that there is fire coming out of my butt. And yes, that is where the elementals come from. Those are gaseous elementals. And actually, it was my pitch to Wizards of the Coast that I make blue angel tokens, but they said that that's just simply not in my color pie, so I didn't do it. But thanks for the question, Phil. It's always a pleasure. Also, are you at a soccer game? What's all that noise behind you? Okay, goodbye.
Sean Watson, Lazav, Demir Mastermind. Lazav, we live in a modern time. What gender were you originally?
An interesting question. Are you trying to get extra information from me? I have hexproof, you know. I don't have to be targeted by questions. In fact, you're not allowed to target me with questions. So instead, I will continue to eat my grilled cheese. Delicious.
Spencer O'Keefe. All right, Canes and Tiro, miladies. If they were playing a game of baseball, who would be the pitcher and who would be the catcher?
This is an interesting question for us because we are sports players.
Yes, it's the thing is, I, Kineos, I'm an outfielder. I do not pitch. I field the ball. I throw it in deep outfield.
I am a first baseman, so I have a larger glove, but otherwise I'm involved in infield pitch only. So this is a good question. Oh, thank you for your question, Spencer.
My name is Andre Triber. My favorite commander is right now the Parade Float Mayors, Kineos and Tiro Miletus. And my question I'd ask them is, how they just get such beautiful hair and chiseled rock-hard body, in such a warring landscape. I love their peaceful reign. And
yes, good question.
Thank you for the question.
Yes, I mean, the body is just the easy part. I mean, always training, always, getting ready for the wars.
I'm saying gyros. Get in on gyros. Actually, it is a muscle building food. So
Yes, yes. And the hair, make sure you have enough omega-3s in your diet.
yes, again, if you have fatty foods, it actually help you out. I am
Yeah.
Tiro. It sounds like I'm from Russia.
Try, maybe an egg white.
Egg white. Put it in your hair. You do some mayonnaise as well. That'll help.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm Davis Benson from London. Favorite commanders? Angus McKenzie. And I'd like to ask him how he got such a full beard. That was an awesome beard.
Thanks for the question, laddie. That's a beer I've had for quite a while now. And if I'm being honest, I stole it from the same goat I got my horns from. So anytime you see a goat, take that beard because it'll go right on your face if it's a bit of a surgical procedure to get it on there. But once it's on, you're having a laugh.
All right, my name is Jackie Miller. I'm from Louisville. And my favorite commander is Darien, King of Keeldor. And I'd like to know why Darien's always hidden himself.
Hey, Jackie. Well, honestly, I hit myself because it helps the kingdom. Do you know what I mean? Like when people see me suffering, they want to join the ranks of the soldiers. So a lot of people think that I'm just not feeling good about myself, but it's actually the opposite. I'm feeling good about myself because whenever I sock myself in the face or purposefully fall off my horse or lay down a banana peel and just run down the road full speed at it, every time that just gets more people on my side. So honestly, it's a bit of a, it's a bit of a recruiting mechanism. That's why I'm hitting myself all the time. It's really great. The Keldor's doing fine. Okay.
My name is Henry Stukenborg. My favorite commander is Gonti. Gonti, why are you so amazing?
What a great question. Why am I so amazing? I mean, I guess I'm just amazing. Or are you trying to butter me up here to get extra information out of me? Like maybe what card is face down here in exile? Well, guess what? The only way you're going to find out is if I cast it on you, or the game ends and I have to give it back to you. Unless I just keep it anyway.
Stephen Carnley. My favorite commander is Kron the Dawnclad, and I want to know what an Archon is, because I'm still not sure.
I don't know.
Hey, I'm Dave. I love Doran, and I'd like to know why he has so much in the trunk, and also when the best time of the year is to plant my sapperling.
So much in the trunk. Because so many things taste good, even to a tree. Also, May.
So my name is Brian Beck. Favorite commander right now is Surak Dragonclaw. And my question would be, why don't you want other creatures countered? What happened to you as a child that put this fear of counter magic into you? Especially since you are from a blue tribe.
Right. Okay, so something you gotta know about Surak Dragonclaw, okay? I'm the youngest of 18. And let me tell you, when you're the youngest of 18, you gotta fight for everything you got. And just when you're about to get that last scrap and your big brother, who's mostly blue, just slaps it out of your hand, and you don't get to have that popsicle because it touched the ground and it's dirty, you're not allowed to eat things off the floor. Not allowed to eat things off the floor, Surak. Don't eat things off the floor, Surak. Don't eat things off the floor. Anyway,
Yeah, don't counter my stuff. Just give me my stuff, okay? I fought real hard for it. I want to keep it, so I say I cannot be countered, and you cannot counter other creatures around me. Cool.
Dan Kraus. My favorite commander is Savala, Heart of the Wilds. Yeah, why'd you let Marchesa take over?
You asked me that question as if I had anything to do with it. Why did you let Donald Trump take over? You know what I mean? I'm out here in the forest. Me and my wolves are hanging out, okay? I'm not paying attention to what she's doing. She's doing her thing. Also, who would have known you could kill a ghost? That's just one of the things you just can't do. I mean, it's not like we got proton packs and traps here. Anyways, so putting it all on me, I think, is a little unfair, okay? Why did this wolf let this bear, eat a, I don't know, bird? He didn't have anything to do with it, is what I'm saying. Leave me alone.
This is Randy Bueller. My favorite commander, without a doubt, Norin the Wary. And I would love to ask him a question, but he seems to have run away and hid. He'll be back.
Oh, I just left my phone here. I'm not here to answer that question. Thanks. Bye.
My name is Chris Thacker. My favorite commander is Crush the Bloodbraided. And my question to ask, if you could partner up any two commanders, who would they be?
Oh, tough question. Tough question. Any two commanders, even if they don't have partner? Okay. How about Progenitus plus Kozilek Butcher of Truth? There you go. How's that for a kick butt kind of pairing, huh?
Hi, my name is Ryan Metzdorf, and my favorite commander is Neki Shah the Mind Razor. I would ask Neki, my name for short, I call him Neki. I'd ask him, of your colors, which one's your favorite?
My favorite color would have to be burgundy. I feel like it's an excellent mix of most of my colors. Also, who told you about Neki? That is a name I've gone through great pains to hide from everyone. Please don't air this. This isn't being aired anywhere, is it? Okay. We're definitely not airing the Neki part. Okay.
Hi, my name is Federico, and my favorite commander is Memnarch. And I guess I would ask, why artifacts?
This is Memnarch processing the question. Why artifacts? Why what artifacts? Why do I am? Why am? Do why do? Why the? Must
My name is Ethan Fleischer. I'm a member of Magic R&D. My favorite commander is Reiki, the history of Kamigawa, and the question I'd want to ask him is, what is the greatest number of cards you've drawn in a single game of Commander?
Okay. This is gonna be tough to answer, alright? Because, alright, you'll notice I've got a ton of tattoos all over my body, right? Well, let me tell you, I don't remember how I got a single one of these. I like to party real, real hard, and I often get into things I don't know about. So, like, did I draw you 100 cards last night? I don't know. I'll find out on Snapchat. Maybe I drew a bunch. I know I drew at least 3, but, like, the most, you're going to have to ask somebody else, pal.
My name is Shivam Bhatt, and I'm a host of Commander In Podcast. And my favorite commander is Brea. And the question I would ask her is, how many thops does it take to get to the center of a Thopter Pop?
How many thops does it take to get to the center of a Thopter Pop? I don't know. I've never had a Thopter Pop. But I guess what? I can make you one. I can make you a Thopter Pop. I can make you 20 Thopter Pops. You just have to keep killing me. That's maybe not the answer you're looking for, but that's how you do it. And if I were to take a guess, I don't know, Thopter Pops are about what, the size of like a house, so probably, I don't know, 1 billion. I don't know.
Max Jacobs. So I have a question for Animar. Animar, do you take pleasure in taking advantage of the creatures you lead into the
Okay,
battlefield.
so let me get this straight. I don't take advantage of them. They're taking advantage of me by being cast so GD cheap. You see what I'm saying? These creatures are coming around me like, yo, Animark, have some colorless mana to just not be paid. And I'm always like, yes, fine. Be cast for almost free. So I think you got it flipped around. I do everything around here.
I'm Von White. I'm going to ask DePaula, who tends to be one of my favorite commanders, a question. And my question is, what is her favorite sports car?
Ooh, Pip, great question there. I'd say my favorite sports car would be a tie, either the Lamborghini Countach or the Ferrari Testarossa.
Hey, I'm Mike Morin, and I'd like to ask a question to Reaper King. Which is your favorite scarecrow?
Thanks for the question. My favorite scarecrow ever is actually just a stick in the ground with a picture of Jace on it. Trust me, no bird is ever interested in coming around that guy. So, that's what I'm all about. I'm all about sticks with pictures of people on them. That scares all kinds of things, not just birds. You can't get an Eldrazi around here if he thinks Jace is nearby. You can't get big other monsters either. Nicol Bolas, he's not coming around if Jace is around. You know what I mean? So I go for that.
Hi, my name is Mark. My question is for Bruce Tarl. Why so salty?
Ho, ho, ho. You are a salty one. You are only a salty one if you are asking Bruce this question. Bruce Tarl has never been salty in his life. He is always having a laugh, whether it's lifting yak overhead, or whether it's plowing fields, or whether it's gaining much life and hitting you with two swords at once. Bruce Tarl has never been salty about anything except for when the yak won't move the plow through the grain. I need it to plow the fields. I need them. Anyways.
My name is Nick, and I'm going to ask Joyra of the Gitu, what's your favorite card to
I'd have to say my favorite card to suspend is probably going to be something big. Okay, it's for sure a big one. And it's probably going to do a lot. And it's going to be suspenseful. And it's like I guess the problem with suspending cards is everyone knows that it's coming. So it's not a surprise. I would love for there to be a spell that while it's in suspend, it's one spell, but then I cast it, it's a different spell. I don't know. I almost want to be, I guess, omniscience.
So my name's Fen Bogarty, and my favorite commander is Wart the Raid Mother. And my question for Wart, since she's so into conspiracies and conspiring stuff, is who does she think killed JFK?
It was me! Or one of my babies.
My name is Brian Dawes at MTG Lord of Leaves on Twitter, and my favorite commander is Rista Redeemed. And my question is, how does it feel to be vilified and to be back on top? Like he's back on top. Nath is dead. Things are good.
Things are good, man. You're absolutely right about that. Things are great. Like whether if you're hanging out in the trees with me, or if you're just being a cool elf bro, things are super good, man. Things are real good. In fact, we are whole again in honor and horn. And if whether you are really loving the honor part of that, or if you're just blowing on a horn, things have been solid. There's a lot more horn blowing ever since I've been back on top, and there's a lot more of us. If there's one downside to being back on top, I would say is definitely that too many horns are being blown by too many guys. So right now it's a little loud, and I didn't even fully hear the question.
My name's Chris, also known as Command Tower on Twitter. My favorite commander is Sakashima. My biggest question is, are you still alive, and are you Clever Impersonator as well?
What an interesting question. Wouldn't that be clever if I was the clever impersonator? As we all know, I do like to do a little bit of impersonating. But no, actually I'm not, because I'm actually dead and I don't know how I'm answering this.
That's all of them. Good.
Yeah, great.
If you want to contact us, I'm at Sean Tabaris.
And I'm at Andy Holbone.
Send us an email at commandersbrew@gmail.com.
You can find out when we go live on Twitch if you follow us at twitch.tv.
And if you care to support us on Patreon, check us out at patreon.com.
And you can find our deck list on tappedout.net.
And if we forgot anything, commandersbrew.com.